Welcome to Level Up Tribes. Level Up Tribes provides resources to help you attain the necessary resources to level up your mind, body, and soul and realize your full potential. It is about exploring, learning, providing you with the tools from the experts for you to create a better version of yourself. I am your host, Agnes Goodwine, and welcome, Tribes. Today, I have Súle, Greg Wilson. He's right here in the Valley of the Sun, and I'm super excited to have him. Súle was born in Washington, D.C. He is a drummer, storyteller, folklorist, historian, teacher, yoga instructor. He's a healer who has studied drumming under so many masters of the authentic rhythm traditions of Africa. Súle has been on this path of spirit and power for over 50 years, learning elders' lore since childhood, attending church and temples with family and friends, practicing mindfulness, movement, rhythm, and vision for many traditions. Súle began his studies of natural healing and martial arts before the 70s, had 6 years of specialized spiritual training, and received National Massage Therapy certification, all while participating and learning from ceremonies of numerous faiths, lineages, and schools. His book, The Drummer's Path, Moving the Spirit with Ritual and Traditional Drumming, was published in 1992. He is also the founder of Black Light Workers. He is married with 2 daughters and lives right here in the Valley. And his book, oh my God, like I absolutely love your book. Thank you for mailing it just in time before our interview. Can you see like my tag? Yes. So welcome to Level of Tribes podcast. We have so much to talk about.
I appreciate the offer and this opportunity. It's really, really, really special.
Yes, you're a gem. You really are. And so like I was telling you offline, I was trying to find someone locally that handles drum that knows about the history of drumming because I know nothing, right? So today I'm going to learn a lot from you. So let's go back to where all this began.
Well, it began with my parents and my grandparents, my great-grandparents and my great-great-great-great-grandparents. That's where it began, because they passed their life force on to me. And then I'm staying up in Harlem with my aunt and uncle, my mama's middle oldest brother, and his wife, Aunt Sylvia, turns to me and says, Greg, see that couch right there? Ernie and Minna, my parents, they came up when Hugh was born, their first son. And she was sitting there right on that couch holding Hugh. And she turned to your daddy and she said, Ernie, I think we're going to have to do this one more time.
And then here you go.
And then here you go. So then you go all the way back to the beginning.
You've been very lucky to have so many, like your tribe from the beginning, like you said, like it goes way back. Like you've had this foundation with your parents, with the people around you, like who made you who you are today. So you've been so lucky to have so many people from all over with different traditions and backgrounds that made Greg Wilson. Yeah. And you talk about that in the book too.
Yeah. I mean, we almost moved to Santa Barbara when I was 12 years old. Yeah. I would certainly not be this guy. If we did that. Because when I was 12 years old, I went from the school on the other side of the tracks to the school around the corner.
Okay.
And I discovered that what I was learning at the public school where the congressmen and the senators and the diplomats and everything sent their kids, where my parents got me in there from second grade to 6th grade. Then I get back to my neighborhood school, and the stuff they're learning in 7th grade in my class is stuff I learned in 3rd and 4th grade on the other side of town. So, but my father made sure I got put there because at that age, 12, 13, he wanted to make sure I got fed. I mean, I got this, but I had to get this.
Yes. Right.
And my mother's oldest brother's second wife, my Auntie Moog, was a math teacher at the school. So I had some family backup.
Yes, you did. I'm like, oh, he got lucky. It was like you always had someone right there just
Yeah.
guiding you, right? Just
Yeah.
like on standby.
Yeah. And even talking to my girls, they don't have that. Like,
It's so different. I know it's so different now for this
and
generation.
that's a challenge. That's a
Yeah.
challenge.
Are they here with you in Arizona?
Yeah, they are right on the other side as well.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got
So everything for you started in DC,
yeah. I
right?
was born and raised in DC. And as I said, my Auntie Muga was co-sponsor of the African Heritage Club.
Mm,
And so I got involved in that. But like I said, I only realized just a few years ago how weird my thing was.
yeah,
Because like I say in the book, like I had my Quaker Oats boxes
you did.
because we
Yeah.
in the kitchen we had a little thing where you put the and underneath. Well, I had my little boxes stored, so I take them out and they were my drums. But then I realized just very few years ago, after telling this story for decades, it's like, wait a minute, okay, my father worked at Howard University. So I got to see International Night, and the DC does have the go-go and
Oh,
in very
I
international
love
city.
go-go. Yes.
But at 5 years old, how much of that did I see? So where did this impetus to collect the drums, hold the drums, be playing the drums come from?
Yeah.
It was there, the
Yes.
environment fueled it,
Yeah.
but it was already there, or they were already,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and I was blessed that I was
Yes.
heard it and acted on it. It was
Yes.
in an environment that allowed it to nurture.
You have a cute picture of your grandpa
Hmm.
and your brother,
Yeah,
and you're staring down at this drum.
yeah. The bongos.
Yes. Take me back to that moment.
Wow. That's my brother's like 15, 16. He's already shot up. He's like
Yeah, he looks pretty tall.
yeah, he's like 6'2". He's shot up. So he was in basketball. And then that's my father's father,
Mm.
who came up, Great Migration from South Carolina. Did World War One. If you can look it up, give me the candy. It's a whole story about it. Um, yes, and left South Carolina,
Yeah.
moved north. I mean, he came back from World War One, got his grandma Charlie, black Choctaw woman, and they said we getting out of here because if you remember, 1919 was the Red Summer. Black people were getting killed left and right because black people said, "I just came back from shooting Germans and getting killed to be killed. I'm not stepping off the sidewalk.
Wow.
I'm not bowing and scraping." So there were riots all over the United States. Once again, another chance for the United States to have done the right thing. But once again, it didn't.
Of course.
And so they got married in Columbia, South Carolina, went to the train station. He emptied his pockets and said, how far north is this going to get me?
Hmm.
So they wound up in Connecticut.
Because wasn't he with because South Carolina has a community of the Geechee people.
Yeah, Gullah Geechee, yes.
Gullah Geechee, yes.
Yeah, it's and one of the main tenets of the push of the work that I do is like I'm doing for this less to more thing is understanding the interconnectedness
Hmm.
and how much we've all been lied to and how our souls and personalities and cultures are built upon these lies.
Yes.
And if you like you say, yeah, we're all from kings and queens. That's what the Afro nationalists try to go all the way to the other side. Yeah, you're king and queen in your own household, but how about just I take care of my family, I take care of my ancestors, I take care of my children. There's a king and queen right there.
Right.
Doing that, maintaining, holding the line.
Yes.
As you see, if anybody ever pledged, hold the
Yes.
line.
Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Focus on your kingdom first. That's the most important.
And we are all heirs to a kingdom. Women, gosh, your egg, the egg that made you, was in your mother when she was conceived.
Ooh, say it again. Yes.
You, then again, all of us, because humans are the default for humans is female. So everybody is conceived female.
Yes.
And then it switches over. Was it like within the first month? It
Hmm.
switches over to male. But my wife and I have talked if you look at the basic thing between people walking around with all their eggs, whether they'll ever use them or not,
Yeah.
that's not the point. But there's an innate thing that you got eggs, that you were walking with a basket of eggs your whole life. Whereas other people just going to make more.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
why the default
That's so deep. That's
is
so deep
yeah,
because if you think about it, like you said, my mom was carrying me when she was born, right?
yes, yes,
And it goes back to your healing practices. And I'm sure you teach this, you know, her wounds I carry.
yeah,
There's sometimes, I'm like, why do I feel this way? And I've learned to say, you know what, this might not be mine to keep. This could be my grandmother's.
there's a book called It Didn't Start With You,
Oh, okay.
and it's on inherited trauma, multi-generational trauma.
Mm,
Straight up to Jack Whalen, I think his name is. And I
okay.
almost took his workshop twice. I was ready to go up to the Bay Area and take that workshop
Yeah.
with him, but then COVID hit, boom, and
Mm,
then they switched it to do it do it online, and then they switched to focus on teaching that online. It was like that don't feel right with me.
yeah. Yeah.
But the concept just goes click, and just like inherited trauma, you also inherit the joy. See, you can
And
focus on whatever you want to focus on,
yeah.
but
So like with you and your ancestors, like you
Mhm.
inherited the music.
Yes, my father, see, it all depends on how you look at stuff. I kept saying I'm a fourth generation, as far as I know, educator, because my
Hmm.
grandfather, my great grandfather, my father were all in education. But then something clicked, and I looked at what my great grandfather was teaching.
Yeah.
He was teaching classics. He was teaching Homer. He was teaching poetry.
Mm.
And what did his son? His son was an English teacher, but he ran the drama department.
Oh, wow.
And then my dad, he was an administrator, but he was also a poet. And
So it's
so
been there.
the power of words has been, and the imagery and
Yeah.
the magic of vision.
Yes.
It was like in the beginning was the word, but the word was the beginning of the manifestation. The beginning, pre the beginning, was the idea. And the manifestation of the idea is the word. That's why if you say it and put it out in the universe,
Yeah.
the ripples go. But it starts with the idea.
So saying that, and going back to this picture, you were already sending some vibes in regards to this drum. Like you
I still
say,
have half of that drum, by the way.
really?
Yeah. It was my
Oh,
brother's bongos. He started to throw them away. He said, no. So he had taken them apart and he gave one to me. And I still have it on the shrine.
oh, that's awesome. There's something you say here that in the book, it says music is sacred.
Hmm.
It is an integral part of the way of life
Hmm.
of many traditional cultures throughout the world. It is the invocation of vital energies that ensure a community's survival. Oh,
I bet it died, baby.
what has music done for you? And I already know the answer, but I want to hear it from your own voice.
It's kept me alive,
Yeah.
you know. Um, it's allowed me, it's been the rainbow I've been sliding on. It's the structure
Yes.
through which my voyage or my path has chosen to function through. And of
Mm.
course, the music and the dance and and all that stuff are really just manifestations. Like my wife says, why do you listen to all that old music all the time? And because in the music is the energy and the verbal nuance and energetic nuance that allowed survival and thrival as best under any
Yes.
circumstances. And that
Yes.
is inherent in it. So as I am able to carry that music forward,
Hmm.
and I am attuning myself to survival and thrival. And by the way, here's those great grandparents I was talking about. That's the guy in the hat.
Oh, that's amazing. Who's the
And
little guy?
that's my daddy.
Oh, that's
And the
awesome.
story I told you about is about this photo that I mentioned, that give me the candy piece, about
Yes.
that photo. And one amazing thing, in the photo in the book that my mama took when I was like 5 years old, the hat that my grandfather has on, my paternal
Yes.
grandfather, is my maternal grandfather's hat from World War One that I beat to death playing around in it because they gave it to me the last. Now it's beat to death. And like, was amazing.
You still have that hat?
No, it was
Oh.
beat to death. I had my daddy's stuff. I
Well,
beat it
your
all to death.
brother on the picture has a hat that we wear in Puerto Rico.
The
It's
Hebrew
called,
hat.
yeah, the jibarito hat.
Hello.
I'm like, wait a minute, is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I got cousins from Bayamo.
Yeah, I have family in Bayamón. I was
Yeah,
born in Rio Piedra, which is now has been incorporated in
into the
San
city.
Juan.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, look, check that out.
Yeah, my mother's that Aunt Sylvia that
Yes.
said that told me the story of the idea of me coming. Her younger brother married a woman from Puerto Rico, and they had three children.
Okay.
And
Is
I
that
got
the family that you said still lives there?
yeah, Linwood and his tutti, yeah, and
Have
one
you been to
sister.
Puerto Rico? Have you visited?
I've been 3 times.
Oh, okay.
That's three
Awesome.
times, 3 times, yeah, or 2 times. Yeah, my parents sent me. That was my graduation from high school present. Go spend
Nice.
some time with my cousins and just hang out. And then I was working with an organization called the Center for the Contemplative Mind in Society.
That sounds interesting. What was
Yeah,
that about?
it's about ways to get meditation and mindfulness out into the world.
Oh,
And so, I mean, and the way I got involved with that, God is deep. That's all I got to say.
yeah.
And so I was part of the mentor team for the social justice division of the Center for the Contemplative Mind in Society.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It was such an amazing.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
And so the first workshop that we did was at the Garrison Institute. Garrison Institute is in upstate New York. It's on the Hudson. It's an old monastery.
Mm.
And what I noticed was that this monastery was on the east side of the Hudson, and I mean literally directly across the Hudson River from this monastery, now the spiritual center, is West Point, the military training school.
Oh, wow.
And if you like, and so in ancient Egypt, the Kemetic tradition, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So land of the living to the east, where the monastery is, land of the dead to the west, where West Point is,
Mm.
right across from it. And so working with that center was an amazing, amazing thing to,
Oh,
and so we mentors, we had a retreat in Puerto Rico.
okay. My dream, Soleil, is to retire here and open up a healing center in Puerto Rico
Okay, let's
on
keep
on
it
the
good.
west coast of the island.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do this.
Yep. I got about 13 years for that to happen, but it'll happen.
Yeah,
Putting it out there.
yeah. You got land down there?
No, but I need to look into it now, actually, because a lot of
Now,
properties now are going up.
yes. Just like here in the valley,
Oh my God, what is happening?
there's one. I've got a friend, the guy I do audiobooks with. His wife is real estate.
Uh-huh.
And she said usually there's normally like 30,000 properties open. There are like 3,000 properties in the whole county of Maricopa County. Bam.
They're like now like 300,000, 400,000. I'm like, it's turning into California.
Because Californians are running away.
Hmm. I know. So pretty soon, I mean, people are not going to afford Arizona. You think that will happen?
Well, this is the fourth largest metro area, I think.
Yeah.
And it'll keep growing if they figure out how to live with nature,
True.
then it'll all be good. But if they don't figure out how to accept the landscape
Yeah.
that they're living in and stop paving everything over so much that the heat wall, I've watched it since I came here. The storms come from
Yeah.
the east, they hit the heat wall and they slide right around it and don't go through the city. They just come and they go around, unless it's a really big storm that can push through that heat wall because there's so much concrete.
That's true.
And if they don't figure that out, or die, because the Colorado's not going to be able to sustain it.
That's true. Ooh, that's a lot to think about.
So all the more reason to go to Puerto Rico.
Yes, exactly. You've had so many mentors, as we stated before. You've had like a tribe of people around you since you was a kid. And so I want to talk about mentors, right? Who's been like an influence in your life? And hopefully I pronounced his name correctly with all respect. Babatunde Olatunji.
Yes. Yes.
He wrote your foreword.
Mhm.
Can you talk about him and the impact that he made in your life
Wow.
in regards to music,
Yeah.
right? Or anything else?
Well, when I got in the African dance group, African Heritage Club, when I got to junior high school, seventh grade, we were listening to Santana, and
Mm,
Olatunji, and Osibisa, and Les Ballets Africains. So those were the albums we were listening to get stuff to play. Olatunji came to Howard University, and I might have seen him. My family might have taken me to see him then. So I really started drumming, consciously going into it when I was 12 years old, seventh grade. By the time up until then, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
a what?
Paleontologist.
What is
Fo-
that?
Fossils.
Oh, okay.
Remember Jurassic Park, the guy with Sam? He was a paleontologist.
Okay.
um, Sam Neill's character. And but then this, and I realized the paleontology is the same thing as the music. It's
Hmm,
connecting with the past, of course,
love it.
but it was all because of the first I was, you know,
Okay.
and then it became the culture and the people, not the
Mm,
things so much.
okay.
But as I was, in my first two sevens, it was more physical because you're in the physical body is growing. And so I was deep into rocks. My Aunt Thelma, Gregory, every time he come by, he's all into rocks. He was looking at rocks. He's always, every time we go someplace, he's looking down at the ground.
I love me some rocks. I'm the same way.
But then when I got older and moved in, and so I was deep into the African culture and stuff like that, and American and post-African cultures, as my friend has shared with me. So then when I got to go to college, I said, okay, well, I need to straighten up. Let's be smart here. So I went so I went to Oberlin College, where I figured I could get a good degree and still do the music thing because they had the conservatory. It was not the right place for me. And of course, being young and didn't converse with enough people about it, if I
Hmm.
was going to get the geology degree from Oberlin, what was I going to do with that? I'm either going to work for the government or an oil company.
Okay.
That would be nice because I get to travel, but that's not too environmentally friendly, is it? And, I just kept saying, "Oh, I used to like that. Let me go back to that."
Right.
It didn't happen. So while I was at Oberlin, uh, I talked to the head of the percussion department, and he told me that Olatunji had been to the performed at the college the year before. So I went to Olatunji Center for a month to study because in January in northern Ohio it's like feet of snow. So they just say everybody goes and does a project someplace else for January. Do your winter term project. So I went to Olatunji's. I stayed with Uncle Hugh and Aunt Sylvia in
This is
Sugar
back
Hill,
in New York.
back in New York, Sugar Hill
Yes.
and Row. And I walked from 141st and Convent down to 125th Street and then over from 8th Avenue all the way to Olatunji Center
Hmm.
with two drums on my back in the middle of winter.
Oh my
And
God.
when I got there, it was at the low, really, really, really lowest part of his career because in the 50s and 60s he was part of the civil rights movement and everything and the
Mm,
culture. He was a huge part of the political and cultural movement in the 50s and 60s and beginning of the 70s. By the time I got there in 76, I mean, Olatunji did his last, I mean, John Coltrane did his last concert at Olatunji Center.
Oh, wow.
Just to give you an idea. I spent a lot of my time there digging, trying to find posters from that concert.
Did you find one?
No, I didn't.
No.
But I found the Odunde Festival program that had the picture of him performing at that thing. So I still have that. But it was myself and Olatunji and one guy from Senegal and one guy from Harlem. And we were going out doing programming.
Okay.
We were the band for the dancers.
Nice.
I was like, boom, right into it. And that connected me to New York. And I said, oh, so to do what I have to do, I can't be in Ohio anymore.
Mm.
I need to get a degree, but I need to learn here because the stuff is alive here. You know, I can go to Temple, I can go to Bembe, I can go to Central Park, and the culture is alive. People are really doing it. They're not talking about it, doing it. And so
he's originally from Ghana.
He's originally from Nigeria.
Oh, Nigeria.
Yeah, his name means Babatunde, means father has returned.
Okay. I've never heard of him, but I did listen to his music. Yeah, and I liked it.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for introducing him to me.
That's great.
Yes.
And his daughter lives in Tucson. No, I'm sorry, not his daughter. Chief Bay's daughter, who was one of his three drummers, lives in Tucson.
Okay. So are you still performing?
Yes. Oh, actually, yes and no. Definitely yes and definitely no.
Because of the COVID?
No, because I never always said I thought of myself as an edutainer. And now we were saying this 30, 40 years ago. Now everybody talks about that. But when I was moved to New York in 76, 7 to live and go to school, the group I connected with, we used that term as edutainers.
I like it.
Back then.
Yeah.
So I certainly do presentations. I do things all the time, doing them online. But my focus never was to be but to create a space, an energetic space.
Okay.
For the energies and the egun, or the spirits of the ancestors, to come through the energy field that I hold for people, to come into people's lives and connect to their auras so everybody can do what they have to do.
Oh, I love that.
That's what I'm doing. Through the story, through the movement.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not performing. Well, I am. Perform means through a shape.
Okay.
To perform. You put a form on something for something to happen. It's like in the beginning was the thought and then there was the word.
Yes.
The word is the form. It's the vibration of the thought. So that's performance, because it has to come into form, because we're here in the earth. Earth needs physical things.
Yes. I saw that a video of you at MIMS.
Yeah.
Our musical instrument museum here in Arizona, in Scottsdale. So do you do a lot of teachings there at the museum?
I have done a few things at the MIM. They wanted me to do some work with them. And so I wrote up a big proposal. This was more than a decade ago, just when they were getting started. I mean, I consulted with them on the string band stuff, because I was in the band, the Sankofa Strings, Sankofa Strings Caroline Chaka Drops band.
Okay.
And so I talked to them about, the representation of the banjo and African Americans and stuff like that. But then they I got put in touch with them in relation to start doing drumming things with them. So I wrote out a curriculum. I said, we can use the collections this way. We could do this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And here's what I want to make money. They say, well, we're not going to give you that money. We're going to give you a percentage of the gate, of the door, of the ticket. And I was like, excuse me?
Wow.
I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Of course, some people say, get your foot in the door. It's like,
yeah, you got to stay true to what
what
feels good to you in spirit. Yeah.
but since then, of course, I've been up there. I did something with Frank Thompson, who I'm doing a great podcast with. We were just last weekend. That's when you saw
Okay.
that. And I've been up there playing because they called for they needed an mbira player, a thumb piano player,
Okay.
for a opening of a exhibit on the Congo musical instruments. So I went up there for that. When they had St. Patrick's Day, I went up there and played Irish percussion in
Oh,
the
wow.
band up there for that too.
Okay.
So I've been there a couple of times doing stuff. And I was up there for Kwanzaa too, doing a Kwanzaa program with Nana. So see, because I did this book too.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
See, you just do a little bit of everything, I'll tell you.
Well, not everything.
One thing that I really like about you and your background is that you incorporate everything that I love, like not just music, right? Because you have people that just play the drum, right? And that's it, right?
Hmm.
But you incorporate the tradition, you incorporate the ancestor heritage, you incorporate the spirit of it, you treat it from a very sacred space. And I read one part of the book where you had two drums, and I think the guy was Kevin. Was it Kevin
Yeah, they borrowed the drum.
that borrowed the drum? And I never really thought about this, but having someone use your drum, and then you said in the book that it didn't feel the same because it was vibrating with your essence, and then someone else used it and it was kind of vibrating in their essence, and you're like, I'm not really feeling this. Let's talk about that and how important it's just because music is vibration, right? We're all vibrations. That's what we are, energy,
Yeah.
vibrations, and everything else. So someone that's out there is, well, and me too, because I do want to get my drum one day, right?
Well, even you one day. Don't even try.
Well, soon. um, how important, let's just talk about that, like the essence of your vibration and your instrument.
Okay. Let me give you two analogies.
Okay.
Everybody has had the experience of somebody says the wrong thing, and the
Yeah.
whole room goes, or you walk into a room and say, "What happened?" Right?
Yeah.
Because of the vibe,
Yes.
or or you just go into somebody's house. It's like, "Oh, I like it here,"
Yeah.
because it's filled with the essence of those people.
Mm.
And everybody has experienced driving a car, been in a car, and somebody says, "Excuse me," or somebody says, "What you doing?" But the
Mm-hmm.
car horn has one sound, has one note. But you could tell how the person is feeling from the energy that the person projects through the button, through the electronics, through that thing over to you.
Sure.
That's a car horn.
Right.
You know how it's like, or beep, 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 beep.
Yes.
You could feel them.
Yeah.
I have a friend, great mandolin player here. Whenever he gets a new instrument, he sits it on the speaker, lets it sit for a long time, so
Mm.
that the vibrations of the music coming through the speaker will crystallize the fibers and resins in the instrument.
Yeah.
You know, um, just if anybody has any aches and pains, chronic aches and pains, it's because you've been moving something a certain way, the same way.
Yes.
Things get aligned a certain way.
True.
So when you're doing yoga, every time you bend one way, when you're done with that, you have to move the other way
True.
to balance with that. And when you have a musical instrument, as Olatunji says, I think he says it in the introduction, in the preface to the book, it is a shell made of a living thing,
Mm.
that vegetable material. And then it has that animal material on top of it.
Yeah.
And then it has the human energy that goes into it. I was doing a week workshop in Oakland, and for a great place there, Oakland People's Conservatory of Music, really great place, really cool. And I was staying at my cousin's house, and and she's also a singer, jazz singer.
Wow.
And so we went to this really cool art gallery, cafe, jazz spot, which is now closed, since closed. And she, she's there, so she got up and sang a couple songs, and it was like a bass player and a horn player and something else. I said they had a set of congas. I said, "Can I sit in?" They looked at me and said, "Okay." And they were really nice. They were vinyl, like fiberglass drums with fiber skin head, and like just touch it goes boop, and felt really good, because the instant sound. But after a while, I started feeling like this
Yeah.
because they were plastic, complete man-made material.
Mm.
And when I play my oak drum with my mule or calf, or if you get some things, water buffalo head, after you're playing it for a while, it absorbs your energy, it absorbs your moisture,
Oh, wow.
and the sound of the drum changes just after playing it for a couple of minutes. It gets more resonant, it vibes alive.
Yes.
And
You,
those
you,
plastic drums still felt like I was beating the table.
oh my God.
And I was like,
The one that I'm interested in is the shaman drums. You know what I'm talking about? They're
yeah,
like the wood frame.
frame drum, right.
Yes.
Okay. Um, by the way, shaman is a Siberian word, and it's the spiritual holy person that goes out and communes, or is consciously and deliberately communes with the energy, with the meta human energies, because everybody all the time is in communication beyond themselves, just that most people don't notice.
Yeah.
And so what the shaman would do, or what just about anybody in their practice will do, if you're doing chanting that om, that is that universal sound they sound. This is us. When we do that, it puts us closer, consciously in tune with that universal vibration.
Yes.
And so, in that shaman tradition in Siberia, they have a frame drum. A frame drum is a drum where the length of the drum is less than the width of the drum.
Mm.
Because like a conga or a bomba or a djembe, it's a long drum, long body drum, but the frame drums are short, like a tambourine. And those, they have a different kind of resonance,
Okay.
and they're designed more, unless you're doing plena or sakara or some other things. They are designed to send the energies out like that,
Okay.
as opposed to these drums, which send the energy out whoop, and are designed to go in concert with each other to create a the energy field this way.
Yes.
With a shaman drum, when you hit it, because it's narrow,
Yes.
it creates the energy field like this
Yes.
in a different way. This is just coming to me right now.
Hey, keep on.
And so it affects you a different way. It goes
Yes.
out.
Mm.
And so people use that to get in the field that creates. And it spreads your intention and experiential recollection and recognition a different way than the drums that do the interlocking patterns.
Mm.
A lot of, I mean, that could be Iberian in you. That could be Taino in you.
Yeah. I
That
do
wants that
have,
kind of a
I did
drum.
my ancestry
Mm-hmm.
like 2 or 3 years ago, and Nigerian
Uh huh.
is big. And then the Taino, that I was actually shocked to know that I have a high percentage of Native American in me. The African I already knew, because
Yeah.
my dad's side of the family is really dark, so I already
Mhm.
knew I was going to have some African in there, but I didn't know where. And
Yeah.
so it was fun to learn about that I have a high percentage of Nigerian in there. So that was
Were
fun.
they able to say Igbo or Yoruba or
Um,
people from the north or where?
I haven't looked, but you
Okay.
know what? That's homework. I'll email you and I'll let you know just
Yeah,
in
'cause
case you might.
I just got an update on mine,
Oh, you
so
did?
yeah.
What's yours? A little bit of everything?
It's like, okay, I can only give you the first one. Just like this is amazing. This is like 49% European, 49% African, 1% Asian.
1% Asian?
Like, yeah, according to this. But I think, but that doesn't, anyway, but my mother's father's mother's mother's father came over from Madagascar in
Mm.
1820 something, and stayed here. And so that mix of Asian and African came up as like this Pakistani group.
Oh, wow.
But it just said no, but that doesn't go. That doesn't have anything. That doesn't click with the tales in the family tales because my sister and my aunt have gone back there, gone and visits cousins that still have the old family name when he came over here,
Mm.
and these cousins were looking at my auntie and saying, you move just like the family. The way you move
Yeah.
is like hold way you hold yourself like the family. And then I see my cousin. I told you Robin, my cousin, that I stayed with in Oakland. Her daughter's on TV, and I see her daughter. It's like, oh, that's how we move.
Yes.
Didn't grow up with her. They only seen her like
Yes.
3 or 4 times. So ancestral stuff is deep.
It is. And I had a lot of Portuguese.
A lot of what?
Portuguese from
Oh, Português, sim.
yeah. That was pretty high too.
Yes, interesting.
I know.
But that's frame drum tradition too.
Okay.
Portuguese, you know, and Taino drums. I don't know what those look like. Well, and I got Nigerian too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
we could be like
We might be cousins.
Primo Linda.
That's true. You never know.
Okay. Let me tell you something about that. Okay, let me
Yes.
tell you how deep God is, and then we can come right back.
Okay.
All right. My wife, as I said, for a long time worked at Phoenix Indian Medical Center, and there was a guy there who is amazing energy, right? Mexican American dude, amazing energy, and like you just go into the break room cafeteria and he's got a crowd of people at his table, right?
Oh, yeah. I like those kind of people.
Those
Yeah.
type of people.
Hmm.
And so his partner is a white dude from Texas, right? And so we're hanging out together and talking. Oh yeah, well my grandma's from Texas. Oh really? My peeps from Texas. Well, my grandmother's grandfather was a white guy in the government, right? He's got my Frank partner got cousins that's cousins to them.
Oh, wow.
I'll say it again.
Wow. So how did you end up finding all?
See? But no, he said he's from Texas. I said, well, my grandmother grew up in Austin. Oh, what's the name? Hancocks. Okay, Hancocks. We got cousins at Hancocks.
Oh my God. Small world.
Yeah. Oh, I keep saying I'm not going to say this anymore, but I keep saying it anyway until I copyright it and put a T-shirt out. But because I'm working to say it only in a positive manner instead of saying not.
Yes.
But alternative to viewing small world, big family.
Right.
Not small world, big family. Yeah.
I mean, we're all
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
all connected anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. A lot of people don't. Well, like I say, this program I'm doing, I call it Less to More, LES to MOR. LES stands for Limited Empathy Syndrome.
Mm,
Because everybody has love for somebody.
true.
So it's limited empathy. It's not like you're a monster because you don't like these. You have love, it's just small.
Right.
So you go
Ha-
from less to more, mutual open respect for the whole world, recognizing that we are connected. A lot of people only recognize certain connections. because it's more
Yes.
comfortable for their condition.
Yes.
So Yoruba stuff, like I said, I listened to Olatunji when
Yeah.
I was coming up, and if you get in at the time back in the '60s, um, the real it was fun to watch the African drummers. People did African stuff, did a lot of Ghanaian stuff and Nigerian
Mm-hmm.
stuff because those two countries got colonized by England, so you could talk to them easier.
Yes. Yes.
And also because Yoruba religious practices have a structure that Catholicism that could be injected within the Catholic system.
Mm.
And so, and then there are also stories that Yoruba, once they realized what was going on, because first they were trading other people and then they got traded themselves. They said they were some stories I've heard that they actually sent people over. They sent priests over to be slaves to tend to the flock of the people.
What?
You
Part of
read
that.
that poem at the beginning of the book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Orisha. Ori is
Yes.
head.
Yes.
Orisha. And yeah, that's a story that happened. And
Mm.
I've also written that as a short story too, and done it as a storytelling thing too. I
Oh,
think I have
okay.
that on video about that. And well, as I said, I came to New York because I wanted the real thing.
Mm.
People that were actually practicing. In my summer between, like I say, God works it out. My summer between my first and second years of college in Ohio, I'm doing a drum building apprenticeship with a guy in DC, Baile. Baile's African Drum Works. Well, we'll talk to him.
Mm.
And he said, you got to go up to the Ile Ife Festival, which is Ife is the city of Ife in Philadelphia,
Oh,
run
okay.
by Arthur Hall's African dance, sponsored by them in Philadelphia. So I went up there, and I was amazed. It was so cool, and we drive up from DC in these vans with the Melvin Deal Company, and as soon as we get out the van, this guy in this beautiful indigo dye Agbada comes jumping up and gives me a big hug, and now he's in Hollywood. Did you see That Thing You Do? The
No.
movie That Thing You Do?
Mm-mm.
Did you see the Dorothy Dandridge story?
No.
Okay, anyway, he played that. He played that. He played in those movies. He was in that movie. Oba Babatunde. Yeah,
Okay.
Oba, the king, father returns. And so I'm wandering around. I see this one guy, looks like Animal in the Muppets, light skinned dude, freckles, red hair, beard. He's like playing like three, four. I mean, all these people came over and heard all this music. I went over. There was one guy. I thought it was like three or four guys playing. It was one guy playing all these conga drums. It was like, wow, blew my mind.
Mm.
So then, next year, I moved to New York, and I'm hanging out. And Kevin, that was not his name. I changed his name in the movie, but he told me to check out some people. I check out some other people. All these people kept steering me to the same place. So I take the train and take the train. I take the bus and I walk in the door, and the guy that I had seen playing all those drums was right there.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, this is the place.
Yeah.
This is the place.
Yeah.
And these were people who were not only practicing the religion, but were studying or being in the priesthood and in the
Mm.
community. And we're doing ceremony for the company, for each other, for the community. I mean, and that's
Mm.
for years. And so when we did stuff on stage, it wasn't a show. I mean, and lots of times we're doing the performance, and all of a sudden you got to run out there and grab somebody because spirit jumped all in them.
Oh my God. Oh, I meant to ask you, let's talk about your name, Súle.
You read the story in the
I
book.
know, but I want people to hear. I want to hear from you.
Okay.
I already know how you got it, but
Once upon a time, my first name, I'm Gregory Wilson, right?
Mhm.
And my mother's maiden name is Gregory, her last name. So
Yeah.
I'm Gregory Wilson, bam. My brother got, Ernie the Third. My sister, Wendy, I don't know why they named her that. And then me, I don't know why they gave me the middle name I gave. But anyway, Gregory Wilson, because I'm both sides of the family. Gregory Wilson.
Yeah.
And so I get in the African dance group run by my mom's oldest brother's second wife, Auntie Muga. And so everybody has to get an African name, in the African dance group. So, okay. So they give me the book, Names from Africa. And I go home, seventh grade. I go sit at the kitchen table. This is me just after, being on the other side of the tracks, turning to Steve Urkel. And I'm sitting there going through the book, Names from Africa, at the kitchen table after dinner. And everybody's in the other part, it's kind of quiet. And I come across the boy's name, and it says Súle from West Africa, meaning adventurous. I was like, yeah. So, but I'm sorry, let me stop playing with this thing. I couldn't bestow that upon myself. It had to be a community consensus.
Yeah.
And so next time we had rehearsal, meet after school, push the chairs back in the classroom, junior high school, they're hanging all over the thing. And I'd say, I want this name. And my auntie busts out laughing, but then she says, okay, we'll call you that. And everybody agrees, but me, since then, being the kind of guy I am, I know that there's no such thing as West Africa. There's Yoruba land, there's Igbo land, there's Dagomba land, there's Dagara land, there's Serahole land, there's Fulani land. There's no such thing as West Africa, And so I tried to find Súle adventurous anywhere.
Yeah.
All the Súles I find are Súle as a shortening of Suleiman, which is Solomon.
Okay.
So then, okay, what does Solomon mean?
Right.
Okay, some people say Solomon is Salam man.
Which
Shalom.
does it still mean adventurous?
Meaning peace.
Okay.
But then this other guy is Egyptologist, Dr. Charles Finch. I got an audio tape of a lecture of him talking.
Mm-hmm.
And first, you got to realize that in the Bible, that names are not names. Names are titles. Because for thousands of years, his name might have been Jerry, but he's the guy who didn't give me my rake back. So by the time he's Jerry, the rake keeper, or the shovel keeper.
Right,
so,
right.
And 1,000 years later, his name is Shovel Keeper. Right? Because that's what you remembered him for, what he did. Melchizedek is Malik Sadiki, means friendly king. So all these names in the Bible are titles of the character, not names of the person. And so Solomon, if you break it down in the Kemetic language, ancient Egyptian language, means sacred measure. And the most famous Solomon story was two things that he's famous for: rebuilding the temple according to the sacred measurements, and being a great judge, cutting the baby in half. Sacred measure. Which kind of goes along with Gregory being the vigilant, watchful Saturday night dude. I was born on Saturday night. And in a contradiction, you have a day name. Part of your personality is the day you were born. And the same thing in a lot of Western traditions too. And so I have to accept, my intention was adventurous because I was feeling kind of nerdy at the time. But as I matured into it, I've understood that it's multi-layered. And, you can accept the man of peace or the man of sacred measure, which is apportionment and balance and ceremony and as above, so below, and Tao.
Right. See, and none of all that was not in the book. See, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, but you did hear about my girlfriend at the time too, so her and her big
Would you
sister.
would you be writing, do you think you'll write another book as a follow-up to this one?
I have already, in a way, I've done it. A woman who was a teacher of mine, mentor, coach of mine, she said, "Oh, I want to get your book. Let me get the ebook version." So I said, "Ain't no ebook version." She said,
Yeah.
"What?" And so I grabbed the book and started rewriting it, adding it to self-publish an ebook version of it.
Okay.
But then after I got all the way through, I said, I better check. So I checked the contract. I checked with and they said, no, the old publisher, they have the rights to it. So then I realized I got to move beyond it and just incorporate the information into, it was going to be, now I'm calling it the Rhythm and Spirit workbook series,
Okay.
because that's the crux of it.
Okay.
Rhythm and spirit with
I love
apostrophe
it.
and apostrophe, where I
Okay.
can incorporate those principles from that book and then incorporate the principles from this book and all that other stuff
Yes.
that I've been blessed to receive.
Yes. And you should do a documentary about your life. You have so much history and you've kept a lot of information. Like you have to get somebody out here and
Well,
make this into a video documentary.
well, somebody said that they wanted to do that. I
Yeah.
was just in a book, in a movie called "We Should All Be Drummers." Yeah, and I was
Okay.
just in a little piece of that, and the guy in it said, you got a lot of stuff. I should do a documentary on you." So
Yes.
we'll see.
Yeah. I hope that that comes to fruition because there's not that many of you. Like, you
Yeah, I
know what
don't
I
know if there's
mean? Like,
any of me that have played in the Asante Henny's Palace in Ghana, who also
right.
played in the pub in Ireland.
No, you've done amazing work and continue to do so. I
And
was
done
going to
sweat
ask,
lodges and
yeah,
bembes.
it's amazing. Before we wrap everything up, describe some of the services and courses you currently offer locally or even online where
Yeah,
people can reach out to you and sign up.
sure. Well, right now I'm finishing up my life path, my official life coach certification. But
Okay.
I learned a lot of that in my priesthood training in the Saracen Society, because one of the first things you do is you do a reading for a person's life path, life goal. So life path coach and ritual development, like you said, the drinking water and thing, and incorporating the Orisha and the Kabbalah and all that stuff into daily life,
Mm,
coaching on that. And like I said, everybody is a spiritual being having an earthly experience, but a lot of people are so wound up in the earthliness of it that they don't notice the signs that are given to them on how to move. So I
yeah.
provide that too. Did Reiki master, also studied acupuncture too, so I do acupressure and reflexology work too.
Mm.
Also, and I'll say, which animal? I broke this down. Which animal removes obstructions? Is it the ants? Is it the worms? Is it the dolphins? I'm like the anti-beaver dam guy for people. You can figure what that is. Let me know. What is that animal that does that?
Right.
Because that's part of my gift is I see where the blockage is in you, and I can use
Okay.
music. I can use hands.
Oh, I
I can
love
use
that.
story. You know, and just energy projection to
Mm.
help those blockages move. Also do write, because I realized I did this. I've written like a book every decade. Because this came out in '92. This came out in '99.
Okay.
This came out in 2010.
Can
And
you
this came
name,
out, and this just came out.
like, can you name the other books so people can find it? And
Sure,
they
I've
can
written.
and they can find all of your books on your website at SouleGregWilson.com as well.
Yeah. I have Kwanzaa, Africa Lives in the New World Festival, African American Quilting, The Warmth of Tradition, Drum Path Rhythms, a method for teaching and learning percussion. This is a 2-hour DVD plus a 95 page book on CD.
Okay.
And then Funky Banjo Level 1 just
Oh,
came out.
that's what I meant to ask you. I'm so glad you brought that up. The banjo.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about the banjo. Can you play something real quick for us?
That's what I'm doing. Or so what happened?
Love that.
I've been
Thank you.
drumming since this big. And to move deeper into the cultural and into the spirit on a different level,
Mm-hmm.
I had to change I had to deal with different frequencies.
Mm.
So I went to, I was doing Mbira always, but this string, this post-African instrument is the bridge. It's an ancestral bridge.
Mm.
And that's why it's funky banjo, because funky is a Congolese term about ancestors.
Oh man. Yeah, you talk about that. You quoted, it is the antenna to the ancestors.
Yeah.
I love it. Are you going to perform like this year anywhere?
I'm doing another workshop, minstrel tambourine workshop in April. I'm doing my less to more 4 weeks of hard truths on Zoom.
What is that about?
Less to more is limited empathy syndrome to mutual open respect. LES2MOR. This gives, white people need to understand they're a part of the world, need to experience being part of the world, because they're trained to not be part of the world, and also trained deeply to think they are not part of humanity. So those are two. And then black and brown people need to experience the majesty that so much of what we've been told came through white people, not from white people.
Mm.
And everybody needs to feel that connection. Like I found a quote from Lakota: "The further you are from nature, the further you are from yourself."
That's deep.
And so that's what Less to More is about.
Okay. And that's for just a few hours, or is that like a series of
That's 4 1-hour sessions,
okay.
a group thing. And then I'm doing some workshops over the summer for Common Ground on the Hill. And I'll be offering other stuff. I'm going to do some rhythm and spirit little things along with some free little things, short to do.
Okay.
And my podcast with Frank is coming up. And I'm probably going to do another funky banjo workshop for Old Town School, and and something else for Freight and Salvage in Berkeley. So,
do you have a newsletter where people can sign up and get stuff?
I have never had that. I'm hanging my head because I did the last thing I did at the MIM, and the thing I just did the other day online. I didn't go to my website and put them up. So, but I promise.
Because I'm really interested. Like, if you ever have like a drum workshop,
we need to get together and talk and do. I have frame drums here, and I have chalice drums here. So we need to sit.
Yeah, like a one-on-one.
That you feel these things to understand what's calling you and why.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I love doing like drum path rhythm workshops.
Yes.
I mean, I did one in April. No, a few months ago, out in park.
Okay.
And I like to teach that using sticks and buckets, because it teaches you how the rhythms go together, and it takes all the preconceptions about I'm playing the drum.
Yeah.
And you just get to feel the power through plastic and wood.
Okay. Yeah, I've enjoyed your YouTube. I subscribe to your YouTube channel because you have a lot of videos there that, talks about different
Yeah.
tools and techniques,
And I will be doing
movements.
more.
Yeah, you have one for movements.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I like those.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the that passport that the class where I see then that class it's an hour and a half, and we do Cuba, Brazil, Estados Unidos, Guinea, Congo, because I play
Mm,
music from all these places, and we do the movements from all these places.
that's what I'm talking about, Sule. We need to get that so I can attend one of those.
Well, as soon as it's safe to do them,
I
you know,
know.
jumping around with a mask on, we can make that happen. But
That's true. Like
yeah,
out at the park or something,
yes,
I miss those times, like I can't wait till we open back up,
yeah.
like
Um,
festivals.
I mean, I could offer that. The weather's going to be just nice enough to do that, to offer that movement session.
I know, I
Yeah.
know. Is there anything else you'd like to add or discuss that perhaps we didn't touch on today?
Wow. Let's see. A lot. Heck
That
of a lot. Be true to your school, but a lot of people don't know what their school is,
is true.
and that's that's
What's
that's where I,
so what's the best way for someone to find their school?
as a self push, I say, come to me
Okay.
for your life path consultation, and
All
then
righty.
once you figure out what the overarching image of the main, I mean, every encounter
Hmm.
is a God sent lesson. Every encounter, even as somebody you've been living with your whole life, every encounter
Yeah.
is a God sent lesson. Every encounter is either and or really a reinforcement of a lesson learned or the approach of a new lesson.
Yes.
So with your life path, when you understand with the overarching lesson, see my overarching lesson is structure. I have to I have to be ritual. I have to ritualize and because I've been
Mhm.
all over the place. And so the ritualization and taking the wisdom of the past and bringing it forward
Yeah.
makes changes, long lasting incremental changes,
Yes.
like the gentle wind.
Yeah.
Wind blow one grain of sand a month, but it'll tear down a mountain.
Yes. Anyone that signs up for you to become their life coach is going to be so blessed. Before I let you go, can you talk about the Black light workers that you founded?
Yeah, everybody's seen the coexist bumper sticker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Ain't no black symbol, ain't no African symbols on there.
True.
What the heck? The
Yeah.
origin of mankind is not represented on there. And part of the history of the creation of oppression through colonialization was the creation of a concept of somebody being a white person. That's historically only 300 years a concept. And so in order to create white people, they had to be different from other people. And so the opposite of white people is right. And so anyway, that took me down a hole. Give me a question again.
I'm
I was
sorry.
gone. No, seriously, I was gone.
I know. You did go
Oh,
somewhere.
black light workers. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. You saw me. You saw me.
Yes.
Yeah. Pythagoras got his stuff out the library, out the 3,000, 4,000 years of stuff that was in the library in Northeast Africa. People learned that the white guy invented it.
Mm.
If you go to the store and get something, or you get a book out the library, you did not invent it. And so there are a lot of people who are open
Yeah.
in varying ways and varying intensities,
Mm.
but have not been given context. You know, I won't get personal, but I know people who have had religious experiences
Yeah.
that scared the crap out of them
Yeah.
because is this the devil?
Right.
Because if they don't see a blonde in a toga with wings,
Right.
they think it's the devil. And there's so much pain and frustration on the spiritual and I mean, if your ancestors can't talk to you, you're not able to listen to them. There's a lot of work that's not being done. That's why Obi-Wan Kenobi allowed himself to be killed. Because
Right.
he saw Luke is there. Now I can do more, I can do more work on the other side.
Mm,
And
yes.
so if you're not
So
listening
you
to,
founded the Black Light Workers to bring a circle of Black healers together to, number one, give back to the community their healing modalities,
yes,
right? Okay,
to not be afraid to speak their
about
healing.
it.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
to be a clearinghouse, to be a network, to
Mm,
be a uh, a sharing spot,
yes,
a container
yes.
for growth and expansion in safety and
Mm.
acceptance.
And that's so important now. I mean, it's always been important, but I think now with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and, how we're shifting with so many other things, I think you do need that safety, that community where you can go and, someone can go to you and say, Súle, I'm feeling something and it needs to come out of my body. You can use
Yeah.
music, you can use instruments to cleanse them and heal them.
And you can do breathing to help get yourself oxygenated enough that your nerves can relax and let something flow through. And I don't want to say in an non-A, in a non, I don't want to say non because it's anti, or
Yeah.
a sectarian environment. Because,
Mm,
some people are going to call Manitou, some people are going to call Allah. What are you going to call? Who's coming through you?
okay.
You know, like I say, we call on the great God. But people say about African stuff. So if you have a pothole, you're not going to
Mhm.
call the president.
Right.
So if you're going to call on the great, great, great spirit to handle it, great spirit is busy. If the light is out at the corner, you're not going to call the president.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the concept. I think that this can actually go so many places. Is your wife a healer? Is she part of this light workers?
She is one. She's
Okay.
a pharmacist by
Okay,
trade.
yes, you did say that. Yeah.
Yes. Her whole life, she was talking about this last night.
Hmm.
Her whole life, I mean, she is an energetic field of healing,
Mm,
which means she's exhausted all the time
yes.
because people come and dump on her. I mean, strangers will just start telling their deepest secrets to her.
Wow.
I've watched it. I've heard stories and I've seen it happen. People just start telling her stuff. It's like, wow, do you really want to
Right.
say that out loud? But because they feel they feel
Yeah.
it. They feel her.
Would you ever have, and you probably do this now, but like healer circles? Like I know people can't get together now, unless it's like limited, but like a monthly, like let's get together and
Yeah. I was doing that. I was doing that.
oh, okay.
Yeah, at a couple of places in Mesa. I
Oh,
was
okay.
doing, when I was in the priesthood training, we did a lot of stuff on the full moon. But then I realized at the full moon, you're already at the top of the slide. You're on the way down at the full moon.
Yeah.
So I started doing new moon gatherings.
Oh,
But
I
then,
think there's a new moon
yeah, coming
today.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I even pushed it back further. It should be the last quarter before the new moon. So you have all your stuff ready to go when it
Oh,
starts to grow.
yeah.
So you need to be prepared when it's the hardest to prepare.
Yeah.
Because I realized that it's like, why have I not been productive these past 3 days?
Mm,
It's because they're the last 3 days before the new moon. The energy is like And I look in the sky, and it's like, oh, that's why I'm feeling better. The moon is starting to come back. So if you catch yourself then at that weakest point, you're most susceptible.
Yes.
If you're depressed, you listen, you're open.
Yes. Yes.
So if you plant your seeds for what to happen,
Mhm.
then we can make something. We can really.
I love it. What is the best way for our listeners to contact you, Soleil?
You can email me at open at SouleGregWilson.com.
Okay.
You can do there. You can go to Súle Greg Wilson. I got Facebook. You can go to Black Light Workers. You can go to Earth Spirit Masters. You can go to Ancient Wisdom's Healing Services. Like I said, I got too many things out there. I got to put some.
I love it. It's a great thing.
But yeah, just go to SouleGregWilson.com and reach out. Or
Okay.
send me an email there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for giving me space this morning to talk and laugh. I laughed a lot today, which I knew I would, and learn like about your background, what you do, and I'm pretty sure we'll stay connected. I do want to reach out to you privately so I can get
Hmm.
some feedback in regards to my drum that I
Yes,
want to.
definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, anytime you want to come back on the show, just let me know.
And by then you may have a drummer. You want to take my minstrel tambourine workshop on the 10th of April.
Oh,
See,
yes.
because what happened was drums were outlawed for people in Africa in the United States. They were not outlawed anyplace else but in the United States
Why was that?
because they used them for freedom. They used them to get freedom. 1739 Stono River insurrection. They used drums to pull people off the plantation and march to Spanish Florida and be free. So they outlawed drums.
Oh, I
And
didn't
so
know.
instead, people started doing tap dancing. They made drum set. They started doing rap, and they played tambourines.
Hmm.
So all that energy is in a banjo. See?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You know more about the African history than I do, but when they had
Abuela, 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 ni abuelo.
abuela, well, they passed away a few years ago, so I wasn't able to get, that
It's
history.
still there. They're still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, like, they gather all these different tribes, right, from Africa. And so
Yeah.
you had one boat with different tribes in one boat. And from what I'm understanding, some of them had different languages, right?
Many.
Traditions, right? And so I'm guessing, right, that once they came to United States, they already had the foundation of their instruments, so they created them here, right? Because they probably wasn't allowed to bring drums and stuff with
A
them.
couple, some were brought over, but mostly, see, if you're talking about the United States, you're talking about other places.
United States.
In the United States, most people who owned people owned less than a dozen people. So there was no thing like in Puerto Rico and Cuba and Trinidad where you had Barbados where you had hundreds of black people working, hanging out together. Most plantations, well, you just had 5, 10 people. So white people always up in your face. So you couldn't really sneak off and do your stuff too much. That's why it's all on the down low here in the States.
Mm.
And that's why you did that. Hambone, have you heard? Down in the rhyming word. Hambone, what comes next? How people in the culture all get up next.
Mm.
You had to do that stuff because you couldn't have no drum.
Yeah.
You couldn't have a room for the ancestors
Right.
because somebody's always busting in,
Yeah.
taking your life, taking your body, trying to take your soul.
Mm.
I got stories about that, but that's another time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
30
great
minutes.
day.
30 minutes.
I know we're like we're like an hour and a half, almost two.
Really, thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, thank
Really.
you. Thank you.
This
I can't
came
wait.
at the moment that I really needed it.
Oh, really? I'm glad.
Yeah.
Why did you needed it?
Why did you needed it? Because I had to say these things. I have to accept Black light workers and earth spirit masters and ancient wisdom's healing services.
Mm.
That's the next step. That's why going from drums to the strings, big step. That's going into a whole different world. I've been living in this healing world and doing it,
Mhm.
but the big B hasn't been the
Coming.
big
Yes.
big B.
Yes. You're going to be amazing. And I can't wait to see your tribe and see the people that you coach. And I'll be following you. We'll stay in touch. And I wish you the best and continue to do the healing work because we need it.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for listening. Please visit the website at www.leveluptribes.com. And please subscribe to the podcast and share with your family and friends. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Catch you all next time, my beloved tribes.